Welcome to a new edition of the Neon Jazz Interview Series with New York City jazz pianist and composer Ted Kooshian. We primarily covered his new 2022 CD called Hubub, a great ride in music. Born in San Jose, he grew up in the Bay Area and started playing piano in the second grade. His love of jazz began in the seventh grade when his music teacher played him a record of Oscar Peterson. He would move to New York in '87, and since then he has been working as a freelance musician, playing jazz gigs, Broadway shows, several tours, and even teaching. Over the years, he's worked with the likes of Aretha Franklin, Chuck Berry, Sarah Brightman, and so many others. Dig this interview.
Thanks for taking a minute out.
Absolutely.
I appreciate it. So, before we get into your new album, I want to know, the last couple of years, COVID just kind of turned everything upside down, especially for the world of musicians and the jazz community. And I'm wondering how you survived it and how that time period changed you now that we're reemerging. And, you obviously have new music and probably new live music opportunities.
Yeah, it was pretty tough. I have like a regular piano job that I play 5 nights a week, and that at a restaurant, and the restaurant closed for COVID, so I was without that gig. I was doing maybe like 2 gigs a month for the entirety of COVID, so it was pretty rough. Luckily, my wife she had a Broadway show which closed also because of COVID, but she also has a teaching job, so teaching music at a school in Brooklyn here. So at least she had that job. So we were able to make ends meet. But it was a rough couple of years for me, sitting at home and without playing and without working.
So are live gigs picking back up? Are you starting to kind of get back to the itinerary you were used to before COVID?
Yeah, it's things are good now. Things are pretty good. My piano gig started up again last year, but it was kind of slow at the restaurant. So beginning of this year, he cut it back to 3 nights a week instead of 5. But still, it was working, and now it's going back to 4 nights a week till the end of the year. I play with the Ed Palermo Big Band, and we do probably, maybe 20 gigs a year, and those are always a ton of fun. And then, I freelance, so I play with some singers, play with some other bands. Things are pretty much back to normal.
What are you noticing with the crowds, the reception? How are people interacting with the live music environment now versus before?
I'm seeing that people are just so happy to have music again because they didn't for a couple of years, and so it's great. People are really into it. People are enjoying the live music.
So your brand new CD, the 2022 album Hubub, that has to be kind of a relief to be able to have new material out, just to kind of put a crown on the emergence of getting back at it.
Yeah, it's great. I'm real happy with the record, and it's great to be back doing that and playing with the band and putting out new music.
How did you put this album together? How did you artistically stitch this one together?
Yeah, it was pretty tricky because it was during COVID that we were doing it, and we actually had sessions booked. I had sessions booked that, like, just 4 days before the session, the band members called and said, this was like right at the beginning of COVID when it was starting to really look serious, and they called and said, yeah, we don't feel comfortable going into the studio and doing this, with, being around other people and all this. And so I said, I completely understood. I said, we'll do it later. We're gonna have to put it off and do it later. And so we did. We put it off. I did a couple of the tunes. I did have electronics on them that I played, so I did that stuff at my home studio. I was able to get the drummer and the bass player to come into the studio and do their tracks for those. And Jeff and John, the sax and trumpet player, recorded their stuff at their own home studios and sent them to me. And so we put those two tunes together, and it sounds great. And then I booked at the end of last year, I guess it was. I can't remember when it was. Or I was able to book time at the studio again for the whole band, and we came in and did the whole. We had 2 days, and we did the rest of the other 8 tunes in the studio.
So I'm curious, what are you hoping the listener gets from this album?
Well, I think it's a set of tunes that I haven't released before. They're not all brand new, but most of them are brand new, and I think they're really diverse. And I'm just hoping that they really speak to the listener, and I think so far they have. People are really enjoying the album, and it's great musicians. These guys really play great, and I just want people to listen and enjoy it, and I think it's accessible, and I think it's everybody played great, like I said, so I'm real happy with it.
So you're originally from San Jose, had a love for Oscar Peterson. Talk to me a little bit more about, getting into music and how specifically the seeds of jazz have led you to where you're at today.
Right. I'm from, I was born in San Jose, and then I grew up in a town called Livermore, which is also in the Bay Area there, and then I went to school in San Jose again after that. But so when I was in Livermore growing up, I started taking piano lessons because my older sister was taking piano lessons, and so I said I want to do that too, and I really took to it, and I loved it. I learned how to read music very young. This is when I was in second grade, and so I was really digging playing the piano, and my second piano teacher taught me chords, taught me like triads and major and minor, and had me playing like Herb Alpert music with kind of in a ragtime feel. So I knew like all my roots and fifths, and knew all my major and minor triads and stuff like that. And then when I was in the 7th grade, there was this new band director starting that year, this young 26-year-old named Dan Chambers, and he was really into jazz, and he said, yeah, I'm going to start a jazz band with the 3 junior high schools, like get kids from each of the 3 junior high schools. And so he asked me to play piano in the band, and I said, okay, great. I didn't really know much about jazz. I loved Herb Alpert at that time, like when I was in 5th, 6th grade, and but I didn't know about jazz. And then I was at his house once, and he said, "Here, listen to this," and he put on the Oscar Peterson record, and I just couldn't believe it. I thought that's incredible. This guy's amazing, and that really made me focus. I started taking jazz piano lessons at the college in the town nearby. I was in high school at that time, but they let me audit this class, and so anyway, and yeah, I was just into jazz. I was my friends and I, after school, every day would go over to my friend's house and just jam, read tunes out of the Real Book. That was when the Real Book first came out. Yeah, we just jam for hours every day after school and on weekends, and that's just what we love doing. And I never, I always thought this is what I'm going to do. I never really considered any other direction, for my livelihood. I went to college then, San Jose State, as a jazz performance major, and I dropped out after 3 years, but because I was working so much, I just thought I don't want to go to school anymore. And from then on, I've just been working as a jazz musician, or actually not always jazz. I do Broadway shows. I've done rock and roll gigs, done a lot of other stuff, but always doing music.
Talk to me a little bit about the first live show you ever saw that like really motivated you and made you think that that might be something you wanted to do with your life.
Actually, I believe the first live show I saw was the Count Basie Big Band. When I was in junior high school, the band director, Dan Chambers, took us to see the Count Basie Band, and I loved it. It was great. And I saw some of the other big bands. I saw Buddy Rich Band a few times, also junior high school, and so those are all big bands. When did I start seeing live? I saw Oscar Peterson when I was in high school. I saw Bill Evans when I was in college. Saw Miles Davis. I feel real lucky that I was able to see some of these guys before they died.
For sure.
Yeah.
Well, looking at your timeline here, moving to New York City in '87, you over the years you've been around a lot of big acts. Aretha Franklin, Chuck Berry, Sarah Brightman. There's a lot of people that are on your itinerary, and I'm curious, what did you learn from kind of the legends and luminaries in music that you in turn use to teach young players that you play with?
That's a tough question. Let me think. I enjoyed playing with those in all those groups. And what did I learn? I know they were all very different. In how they approached the music and how they approached working with a band or with a large orchestra. In the case of like Sarah Brightman or I don't know. I'm having trouble drawing what I learned from those. I mean, everything all these playing experiences. I would say I've learned things, but those were a while ago too. So it's hard for me to remember specifics. The Chuck Berry. I played only one concert with Chuck Berry, and we had a trio behind Chuck Berry. It was bass, drums, and piano. We had no rehearsal. He didn't rehearse. We had no set list. He didn't give a set list or anything. He just showed up for the concert, and he'd start playing a tune, and you had to jump in and play that tune. Know what he was playing and play with him. And so we did. I mean, we all had, done our homework, and we knew Chuck Berry songs, and we knew, but wasn't even count-offs or, like I say, no set list. It was real trial by fire. It was a lot of fun. We had a great time. And
I've heard
at
that
the end of the
about legends like that, where they just kind of get in there and it's baptism by fire.
Right. So we did this great concert with him, and after when he was done playing, when he thought, okay, I've played enough, in the middle of the tune, he just walked off stage and left, and we were still playing. We were still playing the tune, and then at some point I cued the other guys and said, okay, here, this was the end, and we played an ending, and that was the end of the concert.
Wow. I always wonder about those rumors which were true, where Miles would have the band on stage and he would come out and play a note and leave. And I'm like, what do you think those guys were thinking? Like, they got like 1 second of this guy and that was it.
Right.
So, every day you wake up and you get to live this life as a musician. What is it that you look forward to a lot? It looks like you have a lot of variety. You're freelance, so there's a lot of things that go into what you do. Probably a lot of the times you're not quite sure. But what is it more or less that you look forward to every day?
Yeah, it's really different every day. It's because I never know what my schedule's going to be like, because it's last night I played a concert with the Ed Palermo Big Band. That was that's always, I've been in that band 28 years, and it's just, I never get tired of it. It's every gig is just tons of fun. He's always writing new material for the band. Every show is brand new, and we had a sold out crowd, and we just had a lot of fun. And then this morning I have a good day. I look forward to having this interview with you, and then I'm going to play with a trio with a couple of my friends. We've got a gig coming up, and so I look forward to doing these sessions with people every day. Tomorrow I've got a session with another trio, different trio, and I look forward to getting up, seeing my wife, seeing my dog, and then going out and playing music.
If you have a dream tonight, you run into the younger version of yourself, and you could give that version a piece of advice, say, before you came to New York or, in your 20s, based on what you've learned throughout your life, the wisdom that you've accumulated, what advice would you give your younger version?
I've thought about this a little bit, and for the most part, I think I'm happy with the path I followed, but if I did make changes, I think I would tell a younger version of myself. I think there were certain directions I could have followed. I could have done that. I always kind of drifted along because there was always work for me and always good work that I wanted to do, fun stuff, and I wasn't really focused. I think on a trajectory. I wasn't thinking of, and I think I would say, think about where you want to be and what you want to be doing in 10 years maybe, and who do you want to, who should you meet, who should you contact, and but like I say, for the most part, I don't know. I might say, just do what you're doing and have fun, and because my inclination was always to go play with people that I wanted to play with and do things. I guess I could have been more aggressive in certain situations. Anyway, I don't know if that answers your question, but
yeah, it certainly does. Yeah, absolutely.
Great.
So, why do you love jazz?
I love jazz. It's I remember back 40 years ago, I was playing in this rock and roll band, and I had a rock and roll girlfriend, and I remember telling her why I loved jazz and saying, I love it because it feels like it's always moving forward. You hear the bass line and the drums, and you always hear it moving forward, and she kind of looked at me with a blank stare, and she didn't get jazz at all and didn't know what I was talking about. But I love it because it's that's one aspect of it. I love swing. I love the feel of swing, something that's really swinging hard. There's some tracks on my Desert Island picks that are like Jeff Hamilton trio, and it's just swinging so hard. And that old Eddie Harris playing The Shadow of Your Smile with Billy Higgins and Ron Carter and Cedar Walton, it just swings so hard. I just love it. I could listen to it, all day long.
So everyone has a perception of you, your family, your friends, your fans, but ultimately you live your life. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
Wow. These are tough questions. I love writing music. I love playing music. I love hanging out with musicians. I love hanging out with my wife and my dog. I have hobbies that I love. And I guess I don't know how I could put it into one sentence or something, how I see myself, but pretty well-rounded. And
yeah, no, I think you hit it. I think sometimes this question can be daunting. It seems like, it might require a doctoral thesis, but I think sometimes brevity is also more powerful.
Great.
Before we, before we leave, Ted, tell everybody where they can get Hubub, find out about live gigs, your freelance cat. So anything that's going on with your world, past work, where can they go to figure this out and get it? Great.
Okay. Well, my website, kooshamania.com, I have a calendar on there that lists upcoming, this coming Saturday, I'm playing another CD release gig for the album for Hubub. We played one a couple weeks ago, and this coming Saturday, I'm playing at the Falcon and opening for the Ed Palermo Big Band, which I also will play with. And that's up in Marlboro, New York. And the album is available everywhere. It's on Amazon. It's on iTunes. Well, I guess it's not called iTunes anymore, but it's on the Apple Music. It's on Spotify. It's on pretty much you can order it from stores, from Barnes and Noble, from I'll be at my piano gig Wednesdays through Saturdays. That's in the Time Warner building, one floor below Jazz at Lincoln Center. And I've got a couple concerts coming up with a couple different singers. I'm at Birdland next week with Pete McGinnis, a great friend and a great singer. And the following week, the one with Pete is at Pangea. And then the following week, I'm at Birdland with a singer named Christian Holder, which should be a lot of fun. Yeah, my website, again, is kooshamania.com. And that you can listen to snippets from all 5 of my CDs on the website. And you can see my calendar and see some pictures and stuff like that.
Perfect, Ted. Hey, thanks for opening up, man. Thanks for taking time out today. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thanks for listening and tuning in to another Neon Jazz interview, where we give you a bit of insight into the finest cats in San Jose, New York City, Kansas City, and spots all over the globe, giving fans all that jazz. And thanks to Ted for his time, energy, and cool. If you want to hear more interviews, go to Famous Interviews with Joe Domino in the iTunes Store. Visit NeonJazz at YouTube.com. And for everything Neon Jazz, go to the neonjazz.blogspot.com. Until next time, enjoy the jazz, my friends.
Neon Jazz.